Hello, my name is Francis Fox. And this is our chat that later on gets converted into a podcast uh, by Mateo Cuaron. So it will have interesting music accompanying it. And the podcast name is Francis Fox News from Other Dimensions, which is what this is all about. I was part of a secret government program. It's never been declassified. So a lot of what I say might be very new to you. You may have a hard time believing it, but perhaps that's one of the reasons why the government has not released everything that they learned via the program that I was in. Because many people will say, no, that's not true. That can't happen. Perhaps the government, the secret parts of the government, has information that you're not ready to integrate into your reality because it's just not something that you're taught in school or that's part of normal social media. It's also part of what is not acceptable, a lot of magic. And what is magic? Magic is being able to create change without having to move a muscle, without having to physically pick up something and put it over there, without having to take a hammer and destroy something. You can destroy it through mind magic, mental magic, generally with some rituals. And the rituals are there to keep your focus on your intention, which has to do with that magic. I reached the conclusion in a moment in which I was more clear than perhaps I am now, in that everything that I went through was in order to teach all of you magic, white magic. Everything that I learned and that I went through having to do with black magic was in order to really understand it and to turn around and teach how black magic is incredible. It will take you down in the end, or in the beginning, or in the middle. It will take you down, but that it works. Well, let's not make it black magic. Let's make it white magic, just plain magic with good intentions, empowering something that's already incredibly powerful. And I think that's one of the things that the people behind this program that I was in, and supposedly there were several programs, and supposedly there were thousands of children that were in them. The initial ones, supposedly, most of them have passed. I may be one of the few left. I'm not young, I'm 77, totally functional, never tried to commit suicide, never taken one psychiatric pill, never been hospitalized for mental illnesses. I'm one of the few. Now, I'm not sure exactly why, other than maybe my intention when I came into this incarnation was so strong. How can I teach you if I'm not able to keep my head straight? Now, keeping your head straight is not so much fun in the middle of the craziness that was my life, but I'm here. Today's chat is going to be about Miami and its multi-dimensional metaphysical energies that perhaps you should know about, all of which I'm offering up to you with a hidden intention, which I just realized now, so therefore it's no longer hidden, which has to do with this new government that's being formed by Trump. Now, I do not believe that Trump is very multidimensional, but I believe he is very bright. He knows what side his bread is buttered on, and he's a good man. And being it that we are in Revelations, end times, and this is a time in which the planet and human beings are supposed to become more spiritual, I believe that he will, if anyone, he will be the one that will be able to not necessarily himself guide us towards what we have been told where we're going to be, which was in the Bible, the golden age, but allow us to get there. What do I mean by allowing? In terms of my personal history, to be able to reach this point to speak to you, I had to go through a gauntlet. What is a gauntlet? First place, it's spelled Gaunt, Gaunlet, gauntlet. A gauntlet is what was formed by the Native American Indians when they would capture a white man and they didn't know whether to kill him or not. They decided to try to keep the ones that were very strong and just incorporate them in their tribes. And they would form a gauntlet, which was two lines of Indians with a space in between. And the white man had to run down that line, those two lines of Indians that were trying to knock him down. And if he reached the end of it, he was not going to be killed. My life has been a gauntlet. And the finish line is where I'm at today, right here, teaching you, talking to you. And hopefully you are going to be millions of people. So the point of the matter is that getting here is not easy, and getting to the golden age is not easy, because I think that there are people, beings from off planet, that don't want us to get there. And there are a lot of beings on this planet and a lot of people in Miami that don't want you to get there. And Washington, D.C., they don't want you to get there, because the golden age and this age that we're going into of superpowers, incredible psychic abilities, the ability to create miracles, is something a lot of people don't want for us. So we are having to go through a type of gauntlet. And we need somebody strong that can recognize what's fair and what's not fair, and what people should be doing to us or not doing to us, such as controlling us. Having somebody such as Trump at the helm is a very good thing. I do not believe he is going to be an issue having to do with us going into the golden age, even though he's very much about root chakra, base of the spine, rooting, grounding, prosperity, money, income, safety, all those issues. And he's very good at that. And then he goes ahead and he becomes best friends with an innovator, a creator, a person that I absolutely don't think we even need to have an election. Elon Musk is the poster boy for the age of Aquarius. So we're going from an age of materialism being really important, and Trump is really good at that, keeping us prosperous, strong, business running. And then he gets a best friend, and maybe he has 6 best friends. You know what I'm saying. Who's poster boy for the age of Aquarius? My God, what a winsome combination. So anyway, I'm going to talk about Miami now, because maybe my secret intention that I didn't realize till I started this chat is that, being it that somebody is discussing moving a lot of Washington responsibilities and movements and buildings out of Washington, D.C., which is not a bad idea, maybe this particular, whatever it is that comes up next, because I don't always or anytime know everything that I'm going to say. I'm very spontaneous, which is why a lot of times I get myself into trouble. So let's go ahead and start. What about Miami? I live in Miami. Miami is a fascinating city. First place, it's a shopping center for 20 some Latin American countries. Not so much as it used to be, but we were like the center of everything. It certainly is the center of all of Hispanic media. Univision, Telemundo, the radio stations, practically all of that is centered in Miami, which means that the power players are here. And then we have the beaches and the islands. It's so beautiful. It's a well-to-do city, so a lot of very wealthy people live here. And then we have Miami is in Florida, where if there's a lockdown, we're not going to be subjected to that insane list of regulations. So you can continue to do business, you can continue to walk outside and visit your grandmother. So then that's another plus for a lot of people that can afford it to come here. Miami, Florida is a great place to be. It is a fascinating place to be. What does it have to do with multidimensionality and metaphysics and magic? In January of this year, my handler and his people were so aggressive that I couldn't stay in the apartment I was in. So I moved with some family for a while. And then after several weeks, obviously things get old. So I moved into a hotel in downtown Miami to the tune of $17,000 in 1 month. I didn't have an option. I don't think that my enemies are ever going to compensate me for that and for everything else that they've done. But it was really interesting. And the fact that as a Cancer, where our home is so important and security is so important and where you're staying is so important, for me to have moved into a hotel in downtown Miami was like, oh my God, what the heck is she doing? What am I doing? I'm trying to hop and skip fast enough to stay ahead of these people who know so much about me that I don't know, triggers and codes, and from the mind control program. You know, honestly, I should compliment myself that I've been able to kind of stay ahead of them. If not, I wouldn't be able to be here. And almost everything I say really bothers them. So for those of you who think, well, they're letting her talk so that she can say enough and she can grab us and move us into that direction, most of what I say they do not like, they're very unhappy with. And we're not even talking about their controls in Washington, D.C. I'm just talking about the handlers and the people in Miami. So I'm in downtown Miami at the Epic Hotel. They were very nice. They were really very sweet to me. I think they felt sorry for me, wondering how come I was alone that long with a little dog. Must be I didn't have any family. No, I do have family. But when you're in my position, you stay away from your family. The same way if you are a lion and you're in the jungle and some beasts come and you have your little babies there, you don't stay with the baby. You leave them there and you walk away over there to distract the enemy. Distracting the enemy, downtown Miami, trying to take care of myself, no such luck. But something fascinating happened. First week, a couple of, I don't know if it was a week before I got there, they said there were ETs in Miami, downtown Miami, and there's pictures, there's videos. I think it was the 31st of December. And today we're the 30th. Hmm. So anyway, that didn't play out throughout the whole country. It was not so easy to find the videos. It was not national news. It wasn't a couple of news things. So I stayed there that month and I had to walk every day to walk my dog to this little park that was there. And there is a walkway right next to the water, and I'm not sure what it's called, but it's in downtown Miami. You can find it very easily. And there was a statue there that's called the Lady of Miami. Not attractive in terms of you can't say, oh, that's a beautiful statue or that's stunning. It was interesting. I sent it to a friend of mine and she said, oh, I don't like that at all. Okay, it was not my type of art. But one morning when I was walking back, there were a lot of men standing around it and just staring at it. And I thought, so I said, what's going on? And they said, no, this caught fire. How can a statue catch fire? Well, it was on a platform that was concrete with brick on the outside. And apparently inside it caught fire. When I checked with the dolphins afterwards, that I'm not saying that the sculptor that did that statue did that at all. I am not saying that. But there was black magic attached to that particular statue. And it was black magic that was anchoring the energy of voodoo and black magic in Miami. But it caught fire. And I took it to mean that the era of black magic dominating Miami is basically over. And that was at the beginning of the year, in which I could not say what I could say today. At the end of the year, 12 months later, I think black magic will not be dominating Miami any longer. What's going on? Why? Because the intelligence community in Miami is totally enveloped in knowledgeable about, participant, pays for, allows it to happen. The entire intelligence community. I don't care which of the ABC units it is. You cannot function in intelligence work in Miami unless you're dumb as a rock and you're being used by the rest of the people, unless you're really spiritually sophisticated. And that is something I want to bring to the table for everybody who's listening to that. You have got to be spiritually sophisticated or you're going to be walked on, because if all this spiritual stuff is now going to be connected to superpowers available to everybody and you're running around like a little ditz, then no, that's not really, no, not that many people do. That's in Africa. Oh, that's still on the island of Cuba. That never, wake up and grow up. Miami, where you come and have vacation, totally controlled by black magic. To what extent? I, who have become for a long time the enemy of the intelligence community, in the 90s, when I said I started to do therapy and I said, no more. I went to 4 lawyers to try to negotiate with the government. 2 of them wouldn't even take my appointment, and 2 of them said, "There's nothing. Nobody can help you. You are an asset of the U.S. government. You fall under national security. You have no rights, lady." How can you do that? When did I sign away my rights? When did I say I would work for free? When did I say I would ever want to do this kind of work? The intelligence community Can I say the US government? I don't know. Because you know what, Mr. US government? You've done a lot of really dirty, ugly things in the name of national security. I think actually national security concepts need to be outlawed because a lot of ugly things have happened under that concept. So the lawyer said to me, you have no option. You're an asset. That's it. I can't help you. Just accept it. Okay. But I continued my process of trying to scream, reach out, get my freedom. And what I got was I got assigned to me some guy who worked for intelligence, whose specialty was CIA agents that went bad, that went rogue, the ones that went crazy, the ones that went rogue, the ones that weren't obeying, but I mean at a high level, not just some dingbat that they could just cut his check and he'd kind of behave again. I never got a check, ever, ever, ever. He was my babysitter for a year. This was one hell of a sick man. One day I'll be able to say his name. He's probably already passed because that was 30 years ago and he was not in a good place. He was very unhappy, as are most people who get into that world. So now let's fast forward to here. First of all, 30 years, most people didn't believe me. And that's another thing. Where's your instinctive knowing? How can I go from being a person that everybody said I was the most truthful person they've ever met to the point where I was horrible socially because I always said the truth, and you cannot say the truth socially. Do not do that. It's not good for you. Just shut up or get out of there, but don't say the truth. Well, I was truthful. And that was something people said about me. I was the most truthful person they had ever met. And that if they wanted an answer to something and they really wanted to know the truth, all they had to do was ask me and I would tell them. And then I went from that to maybe I'm a little bit crazy. So I would say to people, listen, okay, here's the story. I understand that you have a hard time believing this. The government's never said that. You've never heard this before other than in movies. I said, so you think I'm the most truthful person. So then the story I just told you, why are you still dealing with me? Obviously, I'm a liar or I'm mentally ill. And a lot of people really struggled with that and they couldn't answer because they knew I wasn't a liar. And yet these stories they couldn't accept. Well, guess what? They all decided I was mentally ill. Actually, it appears that lately there's been somebody that's been trying to get me declared mentally ill, which, of course, in order for that to happen, you have to have done certain things which don't apply to me. And you also have to have professionals that have actually seen you say that you're mentally ill, which is not my case. I had 3 University of Miami psychologists. We're not going to go into that whole thing. So here we come to now. How come I wasn't able to get out from under? How come I couldn't get anybody in Washington to hear my screaming, which eventually is going to take down a lot of their people? They should have heard my screaming and taken care of me. They didn't. Why? Black magic. The intelligence community in Miami, if they have any level of seniority, been here a long time, have a lot of power, there is no way they don't know all about the black magic. And they're either using it or they're protecting it. Why are they protecting it? Because maybe they have this incredible intelligence worker. But what they probably don't know is if they're not using it, it's getting used on them. And I know that for a fact. So Trump, when you get in one of the first cities after Washington, D.C., that you need to figure out and hit him at the back of the knees in terms of power, you have to hit at the other dimensional stuff. Power is the ability to do and the ability to act according to the dictionary. Look it up. Doesn't include the word abuse. Power, everything starts in the other dimensions. When you can handle the other dimensions, first place, you become magical and you're very powerful. If you have focused intention, there's something that you want. So Trump, focus on power structure in Miami. Power structure in Miami, having to do with the intelligence community, is very connected to money in Miami, especially construction. and banking. Trump, get somebody to jot that down, please. You're not going to have to beat the bushes a lot. You're going to be able to connect the dots really easily because you cannot be powerful in Miami unless you work with the power players that are part of covens. Covens? Is that the way it's pronounced? Because that's not how you say it in Spanish. You're part of these black magic groups. Unless you're connected with them, you're not going to be able to reach the top. They're not going to let it happen. You're not getting the contract, mister. It doesn't matter how reasonable it is. You're not getting the contract unless you're working with them, which could explain certain people that I met, particularly in Groveland, that I couldn't understand why they had so much black magic on them. They weren't associated with that group. They weren't even the right culture. Why so much black magic? Well, it turned out that they were connected and maybe they were being controlled by all of that because I was like, I don't get it. Maybe I do get it, and I didn't want to get it. So you have the whole power structure behind the scenes is being controlled. And yet Miami is a hugely fun city. It's a great city. I love it. It's a lot like New Orleans, but not so dark. But New Orleans is built on a cemetery swamp, like Washington, D.C. And New Orleans has a really heavy duty dark side. And yet it's very magical in terms of fun, 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 and art and music. Miami is very magical in terms of that also, not with the darkness that New Orleans has, but New Orleans is all swamp. Miami, we have parts of us that are Everglades, which is swamp. And then we have entire communities that were built on top of swamp. Let me tell you something. If you have to put in landfill, you do not want to live there. Why? Well, maybe there's not swamp under the landfill, but landfill is garbage. And energy transfers. You're living on top of compressed garbage? Why would you do that? Because you're not respecting the other dimensions and you don't know about transference of energy. That's why we're here today and we're going to tell you about it. So Miami is not as dark as New Orleans, and it's a lot of fun. It's not completely on top of swamp. Pieces of it is, especially more on the outskirts where people really, really wanted to be in Miami, and then there was no more great land, so landfill on top of swamps. And then you have people with massive depressions, tendency to gain weight, bad luck, darkness, whatever, because we didn't understand that when the native people would ask their gods or the spirits of the land if they had permission to build there, if the spirits of the land said no, it wasn't because they were selfish, it was because it was not good for the human to live there. We didn't do that in Miami. Okay, continue on. What else about Miami? Astrologically, Miami is a Scorpio. Whoa! You don't know about astrology? You should know about astrology because you see, every major ruler on this planet, probably since the beginning of time, except maybe certain American presidents, have used astrology to help guide them because they have understood that it's been thousands of years of observation and drawing conclusions that made it make sense to pay attention to the planets. We pay attention to the moon when we're going to plant. We pay attention to the tides, which are guided by the moon, which is astrology, when we're going to set sail or go out to sea or whatever. Why are we not using it in other arenas? Well, maybe we didn't get in the way of the people, mariners, the ones that would ride the boats and whatever. And maybe their survival instincts obviously said we need to pay attention to that. I think that our survival instincts need to tell us that we have to pay attention to astrology. And the United States, Trump is entering an era that's a combination. I don't remember the two planets, but one is Pluto. I'm not an astrologer, but Pluto is the planet where if you're going to have Pluto someplace, it all explodes. Why did it explode? Because a transformation was necessary. Now, if I get any of this information wrong, especially details about astrology, you're more than welcome to correct me because you might be right. Okay, I'm not an astrologer, but I think I just saw it. United States astrological chart, Pluto. Oh my God, Trump, why did you decide to do this incarnation? Because you have the strength to do this. Transformation. We do need a transformation. You agree, right, Trump and everybody else? Elon, we need it? Okay, we're going to have it. Are we going to have it in order or is it going to be in disorder with the explosions? It doesn't have to be in disorder, but you got to be aware. So, Miami, Scorpio, back to Miami and back to awareness. If you know any astrology, you say you meet somebody, oh, he's Scorpio. Scorpio. And it's like, why are you doing that? Scorpios are like, oh my God. Yes, Scorpios are a water sign. They're in a female sign. I'm doing my astrology, my weekly astrology, which starting this week, I am going to do in English every week for you guys to start connecting the dots and training yourself the way I trained myself, because I didn't know astrology. I had to train myself to respect it. And I do respect it. So, what is Scorpios? Scorpios are incredibly evolved. Okay, so are Pisces. Yeah, but Pisces don't get involved with other people and try to help them fix things or try to point things out to them. Pisces are shut down. Scorpio is here and they don't know it, to help people finally finish confronting stuff that they haven't confronted. So if you have a Scorpio city, what is the city going to be about? It's going to be about confronting stuff that you should have confronted before and you didn't. And so Scorpio will make you do that by doing something, and then you're like slapped around and you're beaten up and you're what happened? It was because of Scorpio that happened. And you know when that happened, when you saw what you realized, Miami is Scorpio. What has Miami been very involved in the United States nationally? Well, music and music, 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 politics. Oh, Nixon had a compound here in Key Biscayne. You can't get more Cuban mafia than Key Biscayne. Oh, yeah, you can. Coral Gables, Florida. Can I get taken to court for saying that? Probably. So, you know what? What I just said was not true. Not Key Biscayne, not Coral Gables, Florida. I take that back. You know what? I don't have any facts to back that up. Why would I say that? Why would I say that? Anyway, so Miami is Scorpio astrologically, and Miami is here to teach the United States that there's stuff they haven't paid attention to. And man, is that true? How many things have we been involved in? Well, it was the Gore Bush elections, and the thing that held it up were the ballots in Miami with the Chads, the little hanging Chads. Miami, Florida, Watergate, and about a gazillion other things that I'm not dumb enough to mention. And then mind control. So if I make it till tomorrow, actually not tomorrow, because they would have to organize themselves today, in order to take me down, whether it's through magic or through a hitman, you are going to have to get behind about 15 people that are already trying to do that. Because there's a lot of people that are angry at me because of revelations. But you need to understand is revelations is going to happen anyway, whether I exist or not. Why don't we do it more gracefully? Humans don't usually do that. It should be more graceful. And by the way, that's my mantra, that the revelations be miraculously graceful. And that my reintegration into my family and friends, because I'm definitely an outsider now, be miraculously graceful. And that actually means that they not be dying totally ashamed to where they never want to see me again because they're so ashamed of the fact they didn't really believe me. I kind of understand that because when I have people that hear my story, they say, you should have a movie. There should be a movie about this. And then a lot of times they stop. No, no, no. This is too much content for one movie. It would have to be a series. I agree. But I'm not going to say that I'm typical because I did end up with an incredible group of people, whatever. But there were a lot more people, not just me, a lot more kids, and not kids, a lot of them committed suicide. Most of them ended up on psych drugs with very good reason. I'm not being critical of them. I actually kind of wonder how come I was able to bypass that, and it's not really a bypass, it's a choice. And I'm wondering to what extent the guy that was my control for 30 years, who totally admired my ability to think and taught me how to widen my lens to think more, I suspect he may have maybe given me some kind of a program so that I wouldn't go crazy like everybody else. I don't know. Whatever reason, I didn't go crazy. And the time in Tibet, we could say, well, that was because of the stability you got when you were in Tibet for that year. Maybe it was 6 months. I have no way of knowing. Yeah, but except that was I was 10. I could have gone crazy before and I didn't. Maybe my intention to be here and to be part of revelations and that it be graceful rather than the mess that the Bible kind of said it could be, maybe that strong intention is what kept me on something of a path of mental stability in the midst of total insanity. I don't know. So back to Miami. Miami, my personal experience. I have not been able to order food for 2 or 3 years for delivery, like Uber Eats, because my food was getting picked up by part of the Cuban mafia. Magic was put into it and then it was delivered to me. And I don't know how many years I was eating food that had black magic in it to keep me dull, dumb, asleep, afraid to say anything, afraid to go outside my front door or my back door. I don't know. I don't know how many members of my family are eating food that is full of black magic. I don't know how many members of many families in Miami whose family members have been part of this without knowing how really bad it was. Some of them and others, yes. I don't know how many of them are being kept under by the magic and food. So when you come to Miami, if you're an important person and people may think you can't do it's not just Uber Eats and the other ones, whatever they're called. You can't do delivery food because you're going to get black magic. You can't order an Uber because the guy that's going to show up is going to be one of the mercenaries, one of the Cuban mafia. If you're an important person and you come to investigate something, you can't do an Uber because they're totally connected. The phone lines, I don't know how they do that because I'm not that type of a technologist. You shouldn't make appointments too much in advance because that gives them too much time to organize themselves, to be able to plant somebody on either side of you, in front of you, or to get the parking space that's right in front of the doctor's office that you're going to. I get vitamin C intravenous, by the way, which is the only, and I don't even see the doctor, I just see the nurses, which is the only thing that I do that's medical. I have to recommend that. By the way, I know why they sat on the vitamin C information. Trump, are you listening? Please, somebody write this down for Trump. Do you know why vitamin C is not available to you? Oh, it's because it's so cheap and the medical people don't want you to have something that's so cheap. Yeah, that too. Vitamin C works on your energy body. It's like the number one thing you can give your energy body that used to be called your health aura, which is your electric system, which is in the shape of your physical body. I'm going to put it on screen for a minute. It's this body. Come on. The body that's in blue, the second one from the left, that's your etheric and it's your electric body. It loves vitamin C. It used to be called your health aura for centuries. That energy body was called your health aura. And it loves vitamin C more than any other product, supplement, whatever vitamin C is. What is it? An acid? I have no idea. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Where was I? Stuff you can't do in Miami. Many years ago, I had a really good friend who was Colombian. Her husband was Colombian. I don't remember what we were talking about. And he said, I don't know, but everybody that I meet in Miami is connected to the CIA. And I laughed and I said, that's probably true. The first big upswing in real estate in Miami was around the Bay of Pigs time, when so many CIA agents came to Miami because of the whole Bay of Pigs and Cuba and Castro, communism is going to kill us, whatever. And that's the first time Miami real estate went whoop all the way up. Miami real estate, Miami, good Scorpio City, doesn't have like a flat or an even keeled trajectory in terms of monies and all the rest of that. Miami goes up, or it used to, and then it goes down again. So we have to prevent that up because it's going to come down again. But that was the first time that Miami went all the way up, was when all those agents started to buy homes in Miami. So they love Miami apparently, because after then, you cannot move without bumping into somebody who's part of the intelligence community. Oh, but they're in Miami. What does that mean? Well, they either just got here or they're already connected with the whole Coven, Coven. I really can't get used to that word. And yet, that's what it is. They are this, and I got this word, which I obviously knew from before, on tarot card readers talking about my enemies being part of covens. So you have this whole intelligence community, who knows what percentage of them are part of black magic witchcraft groups, religions, because some of them is Santeria, that's considered by some of them religions. I don't know that we should call it a religion if they go after people, but I guess it's considered a religion. And the killing of animals is considered okay. And it's actually covered by law. And so that means that all of the Everglades is covered by a law that lets them kill animals. I find it very interesting, people that are into that religion and they have pets that they really adore. And I don't get it. I don't get how they can run around killing all these animals, even though generally they pay other people to do it. But still, where's the compassion? I don't get it. But anyway, so you have to be careful with the animals also. When I laughed so hard, Trump does not know how much he helped this country when he ran around crazed with they're eating our pets. Now, everybody who knows somebody who's into Santeria, which is black magic, it's a religion that mainly we associate it with Cuba, but it really started in Africa and it's in a lot of places. And in Miami, it's completely out of control. When he was like with this face of they're eating our pets, I cringed from shame because I know too many people went into that religion, but I also laughed because I think that people that were on the fence about being on that religion and using black magic, I think they got off the fence and say, you know what, I don't want to get anywhere near that because I don't want people knowing this about me, that I would be associated with a religion where it kills pets. So I'm not saying you shouldn't come to Miami on vacation. Miami's fabulous. But as I said in the 90s, when I started my therapy, I said I was going to write a book. And the beginning of the book was going to say the only thing necessary for evil to exist is for other people to look away. That's when you have a small lens. And the title of the book was going to be There Were No Lawn Chairs in the Everglades, because I was remembering my training in the Everglades for the Bay of Pigs, in which I was supposed to be sent to Cuba. I was 11 years old. I actually did get sent to Cuba. We're not going to talk about that. But we're not going to talk about that because of political. We're not going to talk about it because it was so goddamn dreadful. The stuff that was done having to do with black magic. You do not want to know. And all these people that were taking me there, yes, they were Cuban. They were part already enfolded into U.S. intelligence. Not good, Trump. There have to be standards, even if they're members of the intelligence community, because if not, you get to where we are today, which we've been involved in too many wars. We would have never been involved in if everybody had actually had all the valid information. That is one thing about black magic. And I had a list here. You have food magic, you have Uber magic, You have confusion magic. You have covering your eyes magic. You have make them forget magic. You have magic that can put you literally to sleep. And then you have all these people that are trained in it and are very willing to do it. And then you have my handler, okay, who has connections with people in Africa, appears to have been his specialty, Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba. Most of the Cuban intelligence people, most of the intelligence people in Miami that are Cuban, their protection, this magic protection, is done in Cuba. Oh no, Castro, he's terrible. Look at all the stuff he did. Excuse me, I'd like to have, how much is it? $10,000, 50? No problem. I need that protection ritual done in Cuba. Come on, come on. Gotta stop. Miami is an interesting city. I do suggest you come here on vacation. You're going to have a really good time. Miami is a lot of fun. But apparently, what on earth is that? Maybe it's fireworks. Um, you need to come to Miami. Should you invest in Miami? Absolutely. I really do believe in Miami. I like Miami. Oh, back to my book. The title of the book was going to be There Were No Lawn Chairs in the Everglades, because I was trained in the Everglades. They took all my clothes, no shoes, for 2 weeks in a camp full of men. And I was 11. And when I was 11, I looked like I was 18. So, yeah, did they break me? They absolutely did break me. Absolutely. So that was what I was recuperating from, or doing my memory work from, and all the whatever in the. And I said the title of my book would be There Were No Lawn Chairs in the Everglades. There was no place to sit. I had no place to sit, and I had no clothes on. And I was in swamp. Oh my God. And in the book, I was also going to say, you go to these parties and you go to these events and baptisms and you go to your kid's graduation, you're there with all these group of people, talking Miami, probably the same in Washington, but I don't know. I'm talking about what I know. And you have all these people, and you have all these good people. And then you have these other people that are looking like good people associated with religions that are supposed to be good. And if you knew the stuff that they do behind the scenes, you wouldn't be in that room with them. So there's all these people, and then you have a networking of the evil people. That's what we've had in Miami. And that is what I do believe, that all my screaming may help to end that. Because the veil got pulled off, which is Revelations. Got it? The veil got pulled back. And because my enemies were fighting back at me, they showed their hand. We're going to see a lot of very interesting things within the next 3 months, and probably within the next 30 days. Because I think the good guys are winning. And again, thank you, Trump. Make sure they took good notes. I'll get back to you later on that. So I'm here to teach you about magic. And where did I learn the most? Through remote viewing my clients. Initially, my well-to-do clients, all of whom had black magic. And so how would we know whether I was accurate or not? First place, I didn't believe in that when I started with clients in the 90s. But I did kind of trust myself, or I would do what I do here. I say something, and then afterwards I'll go, I didn't realize that. And yet I just said it. And I would see that they had black magic. And I remember the first time that I really remembered the moment. I said to a male, well-to-do with businesses and whatever, and he wanted to know what was going on. And I always tell people, don't tell me what's going on. Just ask me the question. Well, I want to know, how come nothing seems to be going right for me? When I checked, 20 years prior, they had done black magic on him and his family. And he sat there for a minute and he said, oh my God, that's when my wife left me and my businesses all just went south. And I thought that maybe it was my fault because my family unit was destabilized. And I thought maybe that's what I thought. And it wasn't. It was black magic that took away the wife plus the businesses. And then I kept going with the clients, and I would say it in too many times. At that point, I had mainly wealthy clients, and practically all of them had black magic, and I could pinpoint something for them, a date, a number of years, a situation, and they would go, darn, that makes sense. Besides which, they were all Hispanic and they all believed in black magic. They all knew. Did they know that they had it? No, they didn't. Uh, if not, they wouldn't have had to come to me. And it was through them that I learned that. And so I kept seeing more black magic, and I wanted to understand, how can you do something with a ritual and change somebody's destiny? How can you do that? So it's like horrifying. But within several years, I went, this has to do with creation of reality. Okay, so this is interesting. And then I started to tell my followers, if they can do this, you can do it too. You have good intentions, you can do it too. We don't, the whole killing, we don't do anything. Everything that I teach having to do with magic basically has to do with your mind. I don't like rituals. I don't like objects. No, you need this object and you have to turn around 3 times. I don't like any of that. I want to teach you, and I'm teaching kind of the way it was required for me, not to need any accessory, not to need anything. You're going to do something, it's, you got your head, you can do it. And your mind does create reality. So anyway, we're going to close this down because this is awfully long today. But I did want to tell you about the multidimensionality of Miami, but not to scare you away. But for Trump, pay attention, get this cleaned up first, because this can take you down. It's taken down a lot of people. Clean this up first. And for you to understand, for you to know more, for you to be first in the line, or one of the first few people that goes, you know what, I want to know about the other dimensions. I want to know about me. I want to know how come my kid had all those changes. What is that? Nothing changed in his physical environment. What is that? Well, obviously something from the other dimensions. I want to know more about spirits. Why isn't my religion teaching me more about spirits? I'll tell you why. I just realized today, there are going to be no more religions. It's going to be a really good thing, because everybody is going to live multidimensionality. What are religions? What are they? There's a God. No, there's a being. Okay, that's probably not originally from planet Earth, that has a lot of power and can either knock you down, lift you up, or just watch you struggle. But once you get to the point where you understand that what we have called gods, look at the book Gods of Eden, have really been powerful beings with superpowers, then why on earth would you want a religion? Why don't you go after those superpowers that are in your third eye? Stop using fluoride, even though truthfully, fluoride is very bad for you and for your third eye, but it's not the biggest block to third eye. The biggest block to third eye in this country is belief system. Oh, it's just, we have two eyes. Well, but science says they found eye cells in the forehead. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. Anyway, I've talked for too long. I think we're going to skip the we're going to skip the mantra part, but we are not going to skip, which I should have started with. But if I had started with it, I probably wouldn't have been able to say everything that I'm saying now, and I really wanted to say it. So let's do the map of the United States, which is here. And I'm going to get the traditional black and red, but I'm getting green, which is good, and I'm getting blue, which is good, which means we may have some good news here. I got blue. Allow me a second to uncap them and let me sketch the United States, the 30th of December, 2024. Okay, so I don't know what state is here, but I think this area is always an issue. If somebody can look this up on a map really quick, I'd appreciate it. What state is that? There's black magic there. And I think we're always finding an issue with this, or maybe it's just because it's the center of the country. I don't know. Okay, Florida is looking really good. This is a spiraling really good. The bad guys are looking at Florida, and the people in power in Florida, including the governor. Oh, just I was going to say, I don't know who the current governor is. It's DeSantis. And I think another governor is being considered for, I have no idea. Florida's looking great. And, I don't have that. And I don't really care whether you believe me or not. All you have to do is listen, because later on, a lot of this information is going to be able to fill in the gaps for things that you hear later on. So the pyramids, the Mayan pyramids that are in the Gulf of Mexico, are very supportive of what's going on now with Trump and Elon. And those pyramids, which are basically structures that anchor particular energies that give a lot of strength and protection. Those pyramids have always been there, but they've been like kind of like asleep, and they've been waking up already for a couple of years. And I talked about it before, but they're very much rising. The pyramids have to do with connection with other planets and other beings. So if they're rising, and then you've got the revelations and the other planets coming in closer because we're no longer, planet Earth is no longer restricted to them, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing. So, not sure what this is, but this is like not such great energy. And I don't know if you remember, but I think this is New Hampshire. There was bad ET energy coming in there. I don't see that energy now, but there is something negative pushing down there. But the entire, and I don't have the right color, which should be pink. I don't. So we're going to have to use orange. Oh, I do have pink. This is the energy of the country, which is heart, and pink, which is love. And I know that there are a lot of left inclining people, women that cut their hair and they're not going to have sex ever again. That I suspect they didn't want to have sex, so they wouldn't have done that. But there's an energy of love. No, it's orange. This is orange. The pyramids are orange. If it looks like red, but it's not, it's orange. So we are entering the age of Aquarius. We are entering the golden age with a vibration of love. Now, what's going on here? Was anybody able to look it up? Not yet, but you guys can look it up. Which state is that? Because we have to pay attention. You know what? I'm going to do that because maybe the information is going to be important. So I have to look up map of US states. Give me a second. What state is that? That's Kansas. Interesting, Kansas. It's Kansas, the Wizard of Oz. That certainly is a metaphysical movie. It's Kansas. Kansas has an energetic weakness, and it has to do with something that is buried underneath the ground and has been buried underneath the ground for 200 years. And I think in Kansas, I'm just going to say what I get. Kansas had tribes 200 years ago. It's actually 280. And they were very angry because they were being overtaken 280 years ago. I don't know if we were already, the white people were doing stuff, or if it was another tribe. Their space where they lived was being invaded by another group, another tribe, white people. I have no idea. When you're psychic, time has a, no, it's not the Carolinas is all the way over here. This is in the center of the country. There were tribes or people trying to take over and taking over where they lived, and they did black magic to make this area very dangerous to whoever ended up living there. Now, I know that sounds like a story, and that's a very interesting story, but I have no reason to screw up my accuracy by inventing stories. So I would say that if that is the case, and it probably should be, because if not, why would I be processing and delivering to you this information? That maybe we should look up health statistics and everything having to do with that area or weird stuff happening. I don't know. But that can be cleared up because we keep finding stuff there. Several of the maps that I have done, and I probably won't find any of them now, have issues right there, broken heart chakra, etc. So with that, I'm going to call it a day, and we will be back again with whatever it is that might be important for us to know in 2025, which is going to be a make or break year for a lot of different things. But I am becoming increasingly optimistic about the United States. And remember where I come from. I'm a victim of this country, totally victimized. Me, my family, and yet I can be optimistic about it. I feel optimistic about it. And as I tell people, I'm not an optimistic or a negative psychic. When I say things, it's because that's what I see. If you are a psychic and your optimism, your desire that everything be okay, creeps into your readings, you're not a good psychic. And if you're a very negative person and your negativity creeps into your readings, you're not a very good psychic. So that has been honed out of me. I'm very optimistic about the United States at this point. And most of all, when summer falls, I wish you love. See you again.